You must care about your home. Isn't that why you're gathering information about foundation repair? Hi, I'm Laura Branch, and what you really want is information you can trust, isn't it? That's why Due West Foundation Repair put together this report to help you make the best choice in protecting your property and its foundation. By the time our visit is over, you will have all the information you need to make an informed decision. And that's important because we're talking about your home or your business. Your first signs of foundation problems are easy to spot. Doors that don't close properly or not at all. Cracks in sheetrock inside, usually above doors or windows. Cracks on your home's exterior brick veneer. Window frames pulling away, or even sloping floors. When you see one or more of these symptoms, you need to take action. The best place to start is the beginning. What causes foundation problems? What solutions are available? What are the differences and which system is best? And what can you expect during the foundation repair process?
Get you back on a solid foundation. A solid foundation is Due West.
There have been foundation problems for as long as there have been slabs. And while there are a variety of causes, there's one reason they're especially bad in this area. You're about to meet Elmer Dutton, founder of Due West Foundation Repair. Elmer pioneered friction pile repair technology and today holds the patent on the industry-leading Ultra Pile system. Elmer, thank you so much for joining us.
Glad to meet you.
It seems like we get our unfair share of foundation problems in this area. Why is that?
Yes, you're right. We have a very expansive soil. The higher the clay soils, the higher the PI or the plastic index of the soil, the greater the expansion. When it gets wet, it expands. When it dries out, it shrinks. This continuous movement causes our residential foundations and some of the other foundations to fail. Weather is one of the major factors. There's other things also that enter the picture. Trees are a major contributor. For example, if you have a large tree in the area of your house and the roots are going under the house, drawing moisture out, the soil is shrinking, it allows the house to go down. We look at the trees in proximity to the house. A lot of times you'll hear people say, go and cut that tree down because it's causing problems to your foundation. I disagree with that. You want to look at the age of that tree versus the age of the house. If that was a mature tree at the time the house was built, you pretty well want to leave that tree alone, maybe keep it trimmed, maintain it, keep it healthy, but you don't want it to grow any larger. Plumbing is also a major factor. If you have plumbing problems, say a drain line that's leaking, a sewer that's leaking, it'll cause moisture under the foundation, which in reality causes foundation problems. We're experiencing a lot of that at the present time. So whether it be rain, whether it be trees, whether it be plumbing, all sorts of things that can cause foundation problems. That's probably your three major ones. So rain, trees, plumbing. Just a lot of things that go together. But if you can keep the moisture content of the soil even, in other words, if we could keep it dry, that'd be great. The fact is we can. So you can put an irrigation system around the house. In other words, try to keep the moisture content of the soil as even as you can. You'll be doing your house a big favor.
So these are factors that we have had since the beginning of time, since people have started building homes. And if we've had these problems for so long, how has repair technology changed over the years?
I think it was in about the 40s that they started building the houses on concrete slabs here. When they first started experiencing problems with these houses built on the slabs, they used to use what they called a pad. They dig a hole, they pour a pad of concrete, and then they jack the house up on that. It would work for a short period of time, but it was just dealing with the surface soils. They didn't penetrate deep into the ground, which is necessary. In the late 40s, early 50s, they developed the bell-bottom pier, and it worked great for a good period of time.
What about stability?
The weight of the house is different in different areas of the house. In other words, an outside corner on the house is the lightest part of the house. You get to an inside corner, it's probably about 3 times as heavy as the outside corner. So you're loading the same size piers in both areas different. You relied totally on what that bell bottom sat on. The inside corner is going to fail much quicker than the outside corner. A bell bottom pier could be a good repair if it was properly designed, properly engineered, different size bells for different areas. There's nobody that does that. Somebody that's really experienced at looking at foundation problems can just about spot a house that's been repaired with a pier a number of years ago because the corners will be high, and if you sight, for instance, your brick line down, you'll see a sag in the middle. And then in the early 80s came along the friction bearing pile. It's a sectional concrete pile that's driven into the ground using the load of the house to drive it into the ground. The guy that's driving that pile is testing the soil, he's testing the concrete, he's calculating the load of the house, he's doing it all at once. He's sitting in that hole driving this pile and doesn't even know what all he's doing. He's driving that pile to refusal. The more undesirable the soil, the deeper it'll go automatically. And so he's testing the soils as he's driving it into the ground. If he has a failure on his concrete, say he has a cylinder that has bad concrete, it's going to break when it's on top generally. He'll throw that aside and put another one in and drive, so he's tested his concrete. This laborer that's down there is doing much more work than he ever thought he was doing. So the pile is self-designing, and that's a big advantage of it. In the heavier areas of the house, it'll automatically go deeper. On the corner of the house, it'll most often go shallower.
And I understand that UltraPile has a hole that gives you exclusive access to the bottom.
What I wanted when I developed UltraPile was access to the bottom. I wanted to be able to get to the bottom to inject moisture in order to loosen the heavy soil down there that was causing me to have to stop. And I had a tough time figuring out how to get that hole in the middle. We tested in our yard many times trying to make our own cylinders to do that. I knew what I wanted to do, then it came about.
What keeps the cylinders aligned?
Good question. We have tried to offset cylinders before, but you cannot drive an offset cylinder into the ground. As you drive it into the ground, the consolidated soils around it, when you let off on your ram, let the load off of it, it'll slide it over in line with the cylinder that's preceded it. And then after you get them driven all the way down, then we put a rebar into that 3/4 inch hole in the middle of the cylinder. If there was a problem with alignment, you'd never get that rebar into the ground. We have yet to have a problem doing that. So that proves alignment.
How do you know you've gone deep enough?
When it didn't go anymore, say we had difficult soils, a strata of something we couldn't get through, we could put our high pressure water jet down through there. It gave me access to the bottom so we could get penetration that was well needed. When we used to drive the solid cylinders, we couldn't do this. We used to spend days jetting and loosening the soils and then have to come back and drive the pile. Where this gave us access to the bottom immediately and we could jet it and drive on. Then we put our continuous rebar down through that hole and we grout it into place. That is our UltraPile. It's a patented system that you can get only from Due West.
Hi, I'm Jim Dutton, and you know, back in 1978, all foundation companies did basically the same thing, but we knew there had to be a better way. When Dad came across the friction pile, he knew it was a better system, so we went to work developing the installation process. Now today, most companies have tried to copy the Due West way, but we did patent a few key things like the jetting that still keeps UltraPile a step above the rest. This, along with the testing of your sanitary drain lines before and after leveling, can make a huge difference to whether your repair job holds or you end up having it redone because something was missed, possibly wasting your initial investment.
Get you back on a solid foundation. A solid foundation is Due West.
We've learned a lot about foundation repair already. Expansive soils can play havoc with your home's foundation, and the technology has steadily advanced over the years, leading to UltraPile, the system pioneered by Due West Foundation Repair. What is UltraPile? What makes it so effective? And is it always the right answer? For answers to these questions, we've asked Kenny Dutton from Due West to join us. Hi, Kenny, how are you?
Hi, thank you very much.
Well, tell us how UltraPile works.
In 1982, when we first used a friction bearing pile, my father set me down in a hole on top of a cylinder with a hand jack. And it took 72 strokes to get that hand jack up one time, and I had to push that hand jack up 3 times to get one cylinder into the ground. And I turned around to my father and said, I know we got to find a better way to do this. There's just no way this is going to work. And we searched around, we tried a few different methods, and we ran across OTC power units. And basically what that is it's an electric pump that pumps hydraulic fluid, 10,000 psi, into a hose that we attach to a ram, and you can attach different size rams on the end of it depending on the application. Underneath residential structures, typically we're going to run a 25-ton ram, and that'll do most residents without a problem.
What kind of safety margin is there?
Well, the way the safety margin works is when we drive a friction-bearing pile underneath, say, a one-story home, you may drive up to 15, 18 tons worth of pressure on it before the foundation begins moving. And once we finish driving that piling with the 15, 18 tons, we'll move over to the next piling and drive it. When we get the full series in and it comes time to level, we're actually only supporting 3 to 5 tons worth of pressure on each piling because we're spreading the load between all the pilings that we just placed in there, and it becomes a very, very good safety margin. We did tests with the University of Houston back in 1986 where we drove piling down to 9.5 tons worth of pressure. They had us come back 1 week later. It took 17 tons worth of pressure to get the piling moving. And the reason that is the soils we displaced after we pushed the piling into the ground are trying to get back where they originally were. So when you stop driving the piling, it actually gets stronger.
Now, Kenny, I've heard some companies actually go back and fill that void. Does Due West do that?
Yeah, that's a great question because once we do level the house, yes, it creates a void underneath the foundation. What caused the original foundation is the active moving soils. When the soils get wet, they expand, they rise. When the soils dry out, they contract and go downward. Now, once we finish leveling the house, we're literally picking it up off the soils and point loading it and placing it onto our piling. Now, I want to leave the void underneath the house. That allows the soils to expand and contract and not raise the foundation up and down off the stable piling we just placed.
Now, you mentioned the lifetime warranty, and in a little bit we're going to visit an actual job site with Due West crew. Tell us how Due West stands behind your work. Tell us more about that warranty.
Well, the way the warranty works is once we install UltraPile, we carry a lifetime warranty against settlement. If the piling ever fail or settle, there's no charge for us to come back and readjust on them. And typically another benefit that you have with the friction-bearing pile over a bell-bottom pier, if you should fall within that 2% failure rate, with a friction-bearing pile you can pull the pile cap off and actually re-drive the piling, because if it's failed, there's usually a reason why, and you can actually reinforce the piling sections that you have in there.
We'll get you back on a solid foundation. A solid foundation is Due West.
If you're like most people facing foundation repair, you're probably thinking, what about the mess? How long is this going to take? Let's take the uncertainty out by visiting with Due West Foundation Repair's Jim Dutton.
Hi, you ready to see how we do foundation repair?
You bet. How does the process begin?
Actually, before we arrive, a trained Due West foundation repair specialist examines the house and determines where the most effective location for UltraPiles are. We use state-of-the-art computer levels to create a detailed elevation drawing of the slab, and this report helps us pick up slope trends in the slab, which helps us place the piles in the location needed for proper leveling.
So, when the crew arrives, what's step one?
First, we mark the locations and remove plants that could be damaged. We keep all the dirt and plants on sheets of plywood like this,
So the idea is to protect the landscaping?
and make the cleanup more complete.
What's next?
We hand dig every hole for each Due West UltraPile.
And you drive the piles one by one?
Yeah, that ensures that each is driven to the optimum depth. Once they've all been driven, we insert the continuous piece of rebar, grout it, and top them with a pile cap. Then we level the house.
All that's left is cleanup. How long does the process take?
It varies, but typically it takes only a few days from the start to clean up. Our crews work in uniform, and there's a full-time foreman on every job.
Okay, so what if you have to work in the center of the house?
Well, Due West was the first to use tunneling in order to reach the center of the house. The only alternative is to punch holes inside the home. While some companies do it this way, Due West tunnels so our clients don't have to leave the house and live normally throughout the process.
So the advantage of tunneling is convenience.
Plus, tunneling provides access to plumbing problems. In some cases, insurance covers some of the costs. That's why Due West has an in-house master plumber and insurance specialist to help homeowners.
Wow, looks to me like Due West provides a full-service solution.
We really do. That's because we put ourselves in the customer's shoes and developed our services with an eye towards making the whole process as hassle-free as possible.
From what you've shown us, it looks like Due West has made foundation repair simple and easy.
That's our goal.
Thanks, Jim.
I'm Kenny Dutton. You know, foundation repair is a serious decision, and it's serious work. Since 1978, Due West has worked on over 70,000 foundation repair jobs. You see, my family challenged the old ways and literally changed the way foundation repair is being done today. That's why many experts recommend Due West Foundation Repair. In 1978, we were a general contractor, and one of the things we did was foundation repair. In 1982, we developed the installation process for friction piles, and by 1984, the majority of our business was foundation repair, and today we're known as the leaders in the industry, so much so that when other foundation companies, engineers, and industry professionals need advice, they call us. Due West continues to improve technology so we can keep the promise of getting you back on a solid foundation.
We'll get you back on a solid foundation. A solid foundation is Due West.
Hi, I'm Jim Dutton along with my brother Kenny. We understand there are many different kinds of methods when it comes to foundation repair and many different companies to choose from. So which method is the best? Well, we did our own research and investigation, which included industry professionals and independent engineers. And it was hands down, they all chose Due West Foundation Repair. Why? We use a method that's best for repairing your foundation and not what we just want to sell you, including our patented UltraPile system, the Dyna-Pier steel pile, and of course our exclusive drill piers.
One of the major advantages to using Due West is that we're able to get deeper penetration through our exclusive methods and systems such as high pressure water injection with the UltraPile system. That means you can go through dry soils, layered soils, and get down deep enough to do the job right. Due West has really revolutionized the foundation repair industry from the way we do foundation repair to our customer service. You won't find a better or more experienced foundation repair company than Due West.
Let's face it, foundation problems just don't go away. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to underpin your foundation, but you do need to address the problem to keep it from getting worse. There's a lot of companies out there, some cost more, some cost less, but it's not just the bottom line. It's a method they chose to fix your problem. Is it the right one? And the fact that they might not be there in the future if you need them. Let's face it, there's no such thing as a good, cheap job.
Thanks for choosing Due West to get you back on a solid foundation.
Get you back on a solid foundation. A solid foundation is Due West.
You and I have learned a lot about foundation repair during our visit. First, foundation problems are typically the result of expansive soils. The moisture under your home can be affected by rain, trees, and plumbing. As the soil gains and loses moisture, foundations rise and sink. Over time, that leads to foundation problems. Second, the widely recognized and most advanced solution available today is Due West's UltraPile. Convenient, affordable, Due West changed the face of foundation repair for all time and continues to stand the test of time. Typically, an UltraPile repair takes Due West only a couple of days to complete, including cleanup. When work is needed at an interior location, Due West can tunnel to it, saving you the mess and aggravation of punching holes in your slab, which only weakens it. Finally, Due West does only the work that's needed and stands behind it with a lifetime transferable warranty. I hope you've gotten the answers you need. Foundation repair is a big decision, but then so's the responsibility of home ownership. Due West thanks you for your time and consideration.
We'll get you back on a solid foundation. A solid foundation is Due West.
Would you like more information? Go online to DueWestFoundation.com for detailed comparisons of your options in foundation repair, frequently asked questions, and specific answers. Due West Foundation Repair wants you to make the right decision for your home. We're confident that once you know all the options, you'll want the best, so you'll choose Due West.
You back on a solid foundation. A solid foundation is Due West.